Hello, everyone. You're welcome. I'm glad to be here. My name is Genevieve Kelikume, and I am a full-time facilitator with the National Open University of Nigeria. Thank God for this blessed day, and I'm happy for as many of you that are connected and listening from your various homes. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, we're all here. We bless God for that. COVID-19 is real, and I beg you, please keep safe. Thank you. So can we just go down for the business of the day? Please permit me to share my slide. The course for this semester is titled Primary School Social Studies Curriculum and Method, PED 261. And under this course, we have various topics that we'll run through in the course of the semester. But for the sake of this lesson, we're going to go to the first lesson on this topic 1. And that has to do with the introductory aspects of social studies. So to begin with this lesson, the introduction of this lesson, I'm going to ask us to do a little exercise. Each and every one of you seated there, I know that sometime as you are growing up in your elementary days, all of us went through the social studies class. So can we just have a flashback and kind of reflect on the topics that were taught in these classes? If you can recall, we had things like family, religion, health, finance, government, all put together, made up the subject, social studies. And also, you can remember we used to have gatherings. You sit down, you're told stories, you go out, they take you to 1 or 2 sites. It's all part of social studies. There were some of the activities that were being carried out then, or they were carried out in our growing up years. But now, it's a different ballgame. Some of us have children in schools. Or if we're not married, some of us have nieces, nephews, and all, or neighbors. You see them on this special day, they're all dressed in their traditional attires. And this day is termed the cultural day. It's part of their social studies education. They go with their traditional foods, different kinds of foods. And this helps them to learn that there are other traditions outside their tradition. So that's the question I asked: how your days as elementary students, years of elementary student, influence the image of your social studies. So this, you find out that the children are excited on their cultural day. They plan, they are wearing different attires to school. They come back, this is from this state, this is from this state. It's all part of social studies. So with that flashback, let's now go into what we have today. It's going to take us into the different definitions of social studies. And from these definitions, you will find out how each and everyone viewed, each of these people viewed social studies. We're going to start from one of the foremost runners, Wesley, in 1950. Wesley defined social studies as those aspects or portions of social sciences that have been selected and are adopted for use in school. The aspect of social sciences. And we know that social sciences, it's an embodiment of different other courses under. You have anthropology, you have economics, you have philosophy, and the likes. They all make up social sciences. So what Wesley is saying here that is a combination of aspects, portions of this. When they are combined, it makes up social studies. Barthes and Shimos, their own view, 1970, defines social studies as a discipline in which teaching and learning of attitudes, values, skills overshadow the acquisition of facts and information. That's another one, where the teaching of values, attitudes, skills, they overshadow information when you acquire information and facts. Then the Committee of Primary School Social Studies Program, 1971, and the Nigerian Educational Research Council, NED, in 1983, has a different definition for social studies. They view social studies as common learning of man's interaction with his or her environment, her physical and social environment. While Andraleg, pardon my pronunciation, 1975, defines social studies as the modern attempt of interdisciplinary and interrelated study of a topic, a problem, or an issue, and a concern. You see, he veered off from the other definitions. So what is this telling us? From these definitions, the last person, Omoshenshin, in 1988, defined social studies as the study of man within his or her environment and how he or she deals with the multitude of factors that bear on man's existence. Now, what is our take home from these different definitions? The first one says aspects of social sciences selected and adopted for the use in school. Another definition says outcomes of teaching and learning, attitude, values, skills that overshadow the acquisition of facts and information. While another one says understanding the structure and problem of society and finding ways of solving the problem. The last person says it is a way of life. But let's look at this definition from the CPSSP 1971 and NED 1973, which says it's a combination of socio-political, economic, psychological, and cultural environment. So this definition has put all the definitions together. And this is what the social studies group in Nigeria adopted as the best definition. This is what they adopted as the most standard definition. So I want to ask you, how would you define social studies in your own terms? Think about that. Now I'm going to ask, what are the goals of social studies? There are 4 basic goals that you can see on your screen. The first one is to develop skills to think and to process information. The second one says to develop appropriate democratic values and beliefs. The next, to have opportunities for citizenship through social participation. While the last says to acquire knowledge from the social science, history, and humanities all put together. So what's the nature and the scope of social studies? According to Jerolimek and Walsh in 1974, it says social studies focuses on man's relationship with his natural and man-made environment. That is, how does man relate? What is his relationship with the natural and the man-made environment? We know that there's a natural environment. And what do we refer to as a natural environment? That is God's own creation. The environment God created. How do we relate with it? And those things that man puts in place for us to enjoy and have a good life. Olatunde in 1998 shares the same view, as he believes that man in the society is the central theme of all social studies curriculum in different cultures or countries. Man is the theme. So it's centered around man and his relationship, and how he relates with cultures. That is, we will find out that in different countries, take a country, Nigeria, of how many states, as you go from one state to the other, you're finding different cultures, you're finding different beliefs. Even within a state, with different communities, there are different cultures and different beliefs. So how does man relate with this? The implication of this is that social studies deals with multiple factors that influence man's existence, including his activities, his behaviors, his beliefs, and attitudes, then problems and how they are solved, relationships, kinds of institutions that are established, and a host of other facts. That's the implication of all these definitions and the scope and nature of social studies. In conclusion, all these goals we have listed and we've talked about cannot be attained immediately. It takes several years of the students' learning. So the schools are supposed to find how they should focus on their social studies programs. And based on these 4 main social studies goals that we had discussed earlier, to realize the goals and know that they cannot be achieved in one day, not in 1 week, or even in 1 year. Let's bring it back home. Look at us. Every day we learn. Each and every day we learn something. You leave your own community, you go to another community, there's something to learn. You leave your country, you go to another country, you have to learn and try to imbibe their own way of life. That is what social studies is all about. That brings us to the end of this lecture. And I believe that as we go on in the course of this semester, we have so many things to learn. I hope you learned something from here. And I will appreciate it if you leave your comment. Thank you.